You're late.
Is this the first time you've ever played a part where you don't actually have a name?
It is. You know, when I read the script, I mean, I noticed that right away, and I love the idea that it's sort of this, I call it Pale Rider meets Death Wish in a way. So, but I don't have the name, and I like that. There's one scene where Quinn, the bad sheriff, after I leave the town, he says, "I didn't get your name." I said, "I didn't offer it." And I love it. It's such a Clint Eastwood line, you know. So it's fun. It's fun to do this Western.
I suspect that's a Dave Cass.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think probably Dave had a little bit of he had a little bit of rewrite in here, I think.
That's got his fingerprints
all over. Oh yeah.
Well, tell us a little about the journey that the preacher takes in the course of this 2-hour picture.
You know, he starts out as a man that's seen a lot of death in his life. I mean, he fought in the Civil War, and I think because of not necessarily guilt, but just everything he saw with all the people that he probably killed himself. I mean, it's a man that knows how to defend himself, knows how to fight himself. It really wore him down that he decided to turn to be a man of peace, and he chose the road of being a preacher. And when he finds out in this small town surrounded by land owned by a not so nice guy, that you can't really get away from bad no matter where you go. You know, his wife gets killed, his daughter gets killed in his church, in his own church. When he had the choice, he could have saved their lives. He could have taken these settlers that ran in there for a place of refuge and just sent them out to be killed. But he stood up for what he believed was right and what he thought God was going to protect him and all these kinds of things, and ends up everybody gets killed except him. He goes off the deep end. He turns into, it's an eye for an eye in terms of when I bring up the death wishing, where he goes after the bad guys. He becomes a bounty hunter, and after 3 years of killing and just, he loses everything. He loses his soul, he loses his heart, he loses everything inside of him. He's a very hollow man at this point. He just becomes a robot. And when he returns home after 3 years and sees now that this town is now owned completely by the man, the same man who basically ordered the death of his family, I think he's at that point deciding what he goes to the gravesite to talk to his wife and child for what I think he thinks the last time. I think he's going to go in there and basically just take these guys out or be killed. He doesn't care at this point. And then lo and behold, he runs into a woman that has a daughter that reminds him of what he lost. But she's a woman who's basically dealing with the same emptiness that he's dealing with, coming from a background that she's not proud of. And I think they're crutches for each other. And the good that's left in both of them, I think, brings out the best in both of them. And he decides that, you know, I've been going down the wrong road. This isn't the right way to live my life. You know, he's a soulless man, and he's got nothing left. And he says it's just not the way that a man should live his life.
Beautiful relationship between the preacher and Maggie.
Yeah, no question.
You know, is it particularly challenging to play a love couple, or that might eventually come together, and but nothing's explicit?
Well, it's Hallmark. We can't be too explicit. But yeah, you know, there's a couple moments in there that I hopefully the audience will say, kiss her, kiss her. You know, there was a scene I remember from It's a Wonderful Life when the gentleman's watching from the porch. You know, he's like, youth is wasted on the young. And I keep thinking of that in this. I'm like, going, just kiss the woman, you know. And of course, it doesn't happen until the very, very end. But it's a wonderful moment. And actually, there's a line that was added at the very, very end of the film, where Maggie gets the last line, and it harkens back to a scene earlier when I come into the house. I've only been boarding at her house now for 1 or 2 days, but I'm late for dinner. She says, "You're late." And I'm basically, because I didn't realize I was on a schedule. You know, you know, you're not here by 6, you don't eat dinner. You got to fend for yourself. And then I show up after she knows. She probably figures I got killed, and I show up, and the first thing she says is, "You're late." And it's a really nice moment. And Cynthia actually came up with that line, and it's a really nice beat to take. And I just look at her, and I've already hugged a little girl who's at that point as we've developed this relationship, and she runs down and just plants one on me. She came down the first take. She came down so hard. She hit my lips so hard. Now I was like, I think I'm bleeding. You know, I was looking all over the place. She goes, "I'm sorry, I kissed you a little hard there." I said, "Yeah." I mean, it's a wide shot. We haven't done the close-up yet. Save it. It was killing me.
And this isn't Cynthia. This is the girl.
Oh man, yeah, no.
It's a great story.
It was funny.
Great story. When you read the script, or in the first 10 days, I think this is day 11 of the shooting, is there a scene, Kevin, that you thought, ooh, this is going to be a particular challenge, either I'm looking forward to big time or I'm kind of dreading big time?
Right now, what we've shot so far, we're shooting basically the last 2/3 of the movie. The first third we haven't shot yet. I'm going to find the first third, I think, more challenging emotionally, and it's going to be fun to play. And it's going to come when I do have to try to talk these guys out of, you know, leaving my town alone, leaving my church alone, that the settlers in there, they're in there for sanctuary. It's a house of God, leave us alone. A small fight happens, they knock me out, then they blow up the church. And I think the moment I have to crawl through the burning church and find my daughter's doll, and the realization that she was in there and she's dead now, I think that's going to be, and also the scene that sort of, we've shot a scene leading up to it today, where I have to go back to the gravesite, and I haven't been there in 3 years. But up to that, I think I like the stuff I'm doing right now. I mean, Dave gave me the road he wants me to take with it, and you know, I think all of us have a dark spot in our minds that whether we bring it out or not, it's there. And this is a place that I'm able to, you know, that's why I love acting. I can be somebody that, you know, that I'm not, but certainly, you know, I've felt the anger towards things that are going on, especially in today's world with all these wars and everything and these terrorists and stuff. So I think if something did happen, I have 3 small children, you know, 1 year old, 3 years old, and 5 years old. And I think if anybody ever did anything to them, yeah, you know, they better run.
What is it about Westerns, do you think, that, you know, they're as popular in 2007 as they were probably in, you know, 1937?
Sure.
What explains the longevity of the attraction?
Well, I think, you know, we've romanticized it through not only the movies we've made through the years, but still today with country music. I mean, I was saying, you know, as amazing as the growth of this country happened through those people, those settlers that came across these Rocky Mountains with all these, you know, wagons and trains, I mean, whatever to get here. I said, you know what? it had to be pretty stinky. Think about it, you know, it's like hygiene had to be horrible back then, and to sit on those wagons with horses and there's no shock absorbers. I thought, you know, they're probably lucky if they covered 5 miles in a day, and we're impatient if we can't get, you know, from L.A. over to Burbank in 30 minutes. We're mad, you know. So it's really pretty incredible.
But also, you know, the bounty hunters were bounty hunters, kind of bad guys. Certainly,
yeah.
Old Colonel Cusack was definitely a bad guy.
Sure.
You know, the preacher was the good guy before the tragedy happened. You know, there weren't all these gray areas that we seem to have today.
Today we have a lot of gray areas, you're right. I think what people like about Westerns, you do have, you know, I wear a black hat, but I'm still a guy in the white hat. You know, the symbolism is there. And I think that people still, ultimately, we want good to triumph over evil. I mean, I think most people, you know, and unfortunately, you know, getting back to what's happening in the world today, it doesn't take a lot of people to throw off the majority of the people. And you know, ultimately, we want good to triumph over evil. I think that's sort of a natural human need and want.
When you first read this script, was there something, and we've touched on this, but it'd be nice to get a separate take on it. Was there something about this story that you thought, you know, this is something Kevin Sorbo would kind of like to be identified with?
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to do a Western. I've always wanted to be part of a Western. And it's funny that I've been looking at, I've been offered another one. Before this one, way before this one was even offered to me. I've sort of been back and forth with this guy who lives down in Tucson, and it's a wonderful script. But then the Hallmark, I've always wanted to have a relationship with Hallmark. I've never worked with them before. And I've got a couple of projects that are perfect for them, so you guys pay attention to this. And when they sent me the script, I just loved it right away. I mean, I think every story's been told. It's just, what are we going to do to make it look a little bit different? And the script just hit me right away, and I said, I want to play this guy. I love this character. I love what happens to him in his journey, and I already have a whole backstory where he came from and how everything happened to him in the Civil War, and how he got to this place in his life that he decided to devote his life to God. And then he found out, like I said, that, you know, evil is everywhere. It doesn't matter. You can't run or hide from it. And it was just, I think it's an amazing journey for anybody to go through, and I think a lot of people can relate to it. I think a lot of people can look at this and look at their own life. And I know when I played, you know, just even doing shows like Hercules and Andromeda, playing the captain on that show, I just, the letters I still get from people today saying how you've inspired them, and you've motivated them to do something else with their life, and that's pretty amazing. And that's what can we ask for, you know? I mean, I'm just here to hopefully give people a couple hours of entertainment and have a little escapism.
When I mentioned the name of a couple of actors, maybe you'd be generous enough to share with us what they, as actors, bring to the party, and what it's like for you as an actor working with them. First, Cynthia Watros.
Cynthia has such a wonderfully warm, receptive feel to her acting, and just without her even talking, I was drawn to her immediately when I saw her. Because I didn't know who they'd cast for the part. We all got cast rather quickly. When I heard they're going to start shooting, yeah, we start in an hour. You want to do the part? I was like, sure. It's funny because I've seen her in other things before, but we've never met before. But I looked at her and I said, she's got such a great face for this time period. She's absolutely perfect for this part. And she's obviously a very well-trained actor. We had to get in scenes right away that dealt with a lot of her own baggage that she had to sort of put out there, and it was so easy to work with her. I just kind of fell right into her, and it was and I want to work with her again.
Wings Hauser.
You know? We've met a couple times before, and he's just, you know, it's funny. It's going to be interesting to do because, you know, up to this point, we haven't really shot anything together. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens because we know a lot of the same people in common. We've already had more than one conversation. And outside of this movie, we've met prior to different charity events or whatever. And I look at him like, because I know all of his work from before. And this is going to be very interesting for me not to probably laugh in some of our scenes. I mean, But it's funny that Dave is really open to suggestions, and Dave Cass. And I told him there's a scene in there where I walk in at the very end before I kill him. And I actually go in there I made up my mind, I'm not going to kill him. I'm going to let this man suffer. And because obviously he's a very disturbed man as well. He's a very unhappy man. Doesn't matter how much money and land he has. This guy's not a happy guy. And I know that he cheated these settlers out, that they actually did pay for the land, and he stole their money and still was going to kill them all. I make him write out a bill of sale. I said, I've got to get that bill of sale. I got to walk in there and say, you write that out. And then when I turn to walk, it's basically, that's all you want, it's all I wanted. He makes the mistake of clicking the gun, and I turn, take him out. And that scene, boy, we don't shoot that. Well, we probably shoot that in about a week and a half. But I'm looking forward to see what we do with each other. Because I love working with strong actors. It's like I'm an athlete, and I'd rather play against a guy who's a better basketball player, a better golfer, a better whatever than me, because it makes me better. You know.
Nick Chinlund.
Nick, it's interesting. A lot of people, I've never met any of them because I've been gone so long. I lived in New Zealand 7 years, in Canada 5 years between 2 shows. This is my first year back in America, so I know Nick's work as well. I've seen him in many things, and we've already done a couple scenes together. We've two days of scenes. We have a big day tomorrow, which is going to be a lot of fun. It's funny because you always have these preset ideas of what you think people are going to be like, and most of the time you're wrong. And Nick. He's this ruggedly handsome, sort of plays a great bad guy, and you sit there and go, okay, I don't know what this guy's going to be like, and he's like a total goofball. He's just a funny guy. He just throws out these things, and he's telling me, he got married later in life. He's got a little kid now, and he says, I told my wife all I want is 1 hour a day with my cigar, and everything will be perfect. I'll be your slave the other 23 hours. And it was just kind of funny, but it's Nick. What I like rehearsing. I like talking about, our scenes, and Nick does that. I didn't even have to ask him. He wanted right away. He came up to me and said, we blocked it a couple times, the very first scene we did together, and he said, we walked around the corner, he says, will you run lines with me, and can we talk about the scene? Because I kind of, I said, yeah. I love doing that. And so many actors today don't like doing that. Incoming, it's one of ours. But so many actors don't like rehearsing. Why, I don't know. It's the thing about, it's like if you're not doing theater, what's the sense or something? But to me, it's like you get a chance to really discover who that person is, and they get a chance to discover who you are, and it just makes sense to rehearse a scene.
And Nick is of the same school.
Nick is of that same school. He wants to get it down right. And it's funny with Dave, because Dave's like, don't overthink it, because he's getting Nick's face. Just walk through the damn door. He says, But do I walk through left-footed or right-footed? But it's fun.
Cynthia said she's having great fun watching you on a horse. She says it appears that you've been riding since you were 5 years old, and in fact, you don't have a long history of riding a horse.
I do not have a long history of riding horses. When I got the part and I read the script, I said, damn, I'm riding a lot of horses in this. I did some in a movie I did years ago. We did some on Hercules, but not a whole lot. I did some last summer. I did a couple walking tall movies, and straight for DVD, and I did do some writing on there as well. But nothing like this one, where the first week I was on it every single day, and the third day, man, my ass was so sore. I got the white man's bony ass, man. I need more padding down there. But I feel like I know what I'm doing now. That's kind of interesting. I'm not intimidated. I know they can get, they're a lot stronger than we are. But if you don't have that smell of fear around them, because they'll smell that. You got to get on there and boom, right away. Because I got good wranglers here. These guys are really good cowboys. These guys have done a lot of movies through decades of them, and they just said, you let that horse know who's boss, and the horse and I have a nice little relationship going now.
What's it like not having to shave every day?
They're clipping it down every day. And they got to keep it somewhat the same length, because I think there's only covers, 5 days or something. But 3 years. But there's, I got to shave for the preacher. When I'm actually the preacher, and they're going to cut off some of my hair. But it's scratchy. It's like I've never really, I've done the little goatee thing. I don't get the real good thing up here. Maybe it's a Scandinavian thing. I don't know. We don't grow great facial hair. We just grow tall.
How does your wife react to it?
She loves it. She said the other day, she goes, I feel like I'm having an affair on my husband. I said, you should go for it. It'd be good for you. So far she's liking it. She goes, don't shave it, you know. But we actually might have a part in the show. They may make her my wife that gets killed in the first third of the movie. She was interested. They asked me would she be interested, and I said sure. I asked her, and she was like, she goes, I'll do it. So I know they ask more questions today about it. So we'll find out.
Any other thoughts on the story, on the script, on the experience?
As far as this being my first Western, I couldn't have picked a better script to be on it. I mean, whether it was a feature film or a cable movie or a television movie, it's just, I love the script. And to have somebody, David Cass, being a director on it, and they told me, they said, oh, he's a gruff old guy, but you love him. And it's true, he is this gruff old guy, but you know, he's smart, he knows what he wants, he's been around this stuff forever. And he gets to the point, which I like. He just says, this is what you're thinking. I always like, when I do a scene, I always like to look at, to remind myself, because you never shoot it in order, I always look back at this couple scenes beforehand, where this leads up to, so I know I should have to be emotionally. And Dave is very good to come up to even remind you. And he walks up and says, it's your first time back in this town in 3 years. Yeah, you're right. So when we were riding into town, when I had the 3 dead bodies on the 3 horses, the guys, the bad guys that I was bringing in because they were on wanted posters, you take that moment in, and it's fun. And whether people see it or not, it doesn't really matter to me. I hope they see it. But I know it's happening for me, and it's being real for me. And yeah, that's one thing I've always loved about this profession. You know, I love acting.
RHI Entertainment, folks, to be blunt, who are writing the checks, making this picture, you know, their real forte is family movies, movies for families. You don't have to be embarrassed to sit down and watch them with the family. Could I ask you, if you're comfortable doing it, just to say something, I'll throw you a softball question, about the fact that RHI Entertainment is in the business of making family movies, and there aren't a lot of folks in that business. Yeah. Could I ask you your thoughts on the company that is behind this particular picture?
I think it's great you get a company like RHI that puts out movies like this, because there's a huge market for it. If you took the top 100 money makers in feature films of all time, most of those are comedy. Most of those are G-rated films. The majority of those are. And there is definitely a need for it. And for whatever reasons, Hollywood wants to show the dark side of life all the time. And that gets a little bit old after a while, to constantly show the negative nature of human beings. I mean, I get tired of movies that want to end on a bad note. It's like, why? There's enough reality out there of just pathetic life out there, and evil people and evil just in general. Why do we have to sit there and watch this and not have something we can cheer for and be happy about watching? And actually did another movie for them that's called Something Beneath, that they did for Sci-Fi Cable. And check your local listings. That comes out soon too. And it was, you know, it's just, like I said, the properties that I have are shows that families can go watch, and why not make those? You know, we have enough stuff going on with video games when you got 8-year-olds killing 150,000 people a day. So is there a correlation between what just happened recently with this Korean student in Virginia Tech? I mean, people can say all they want, but I think the way we live our lives today, that death has become such a casual thing and normal thing for people that they look at it like anything else in life, that it's just breathing and walking, and it has no significance. And I think we have to show that you know, life does have a meaning.
All right, stand by. Here we go, rehearsing. And action.
Good day to you, sir. How may I help you?
Looking for Henry or Bessie Dobbs. This is their store.
They sold out and moved on.
Seems most people sold out or moved on.
You looking to buy something?
I saw the land office side. You record here?
That's correct. I handle the whole county.
There's a piece of land a couple miles south of town, just off the road.
I would belong to Colonel Cusack.
How can you be so sure without looking up in the records?
All the land south of here belongs to Colonel Cusack. Most of it in other directions too.
And you're positive that he didn't sell any land?
Yeah, let me stop you right there.
Okay.
When he tells you that, walk over to that door and look out.
Okay.
And then bring it back to him.
And you're positive that he didn't sell any land recently?
Colonel isn't in the habit of selling. If he sold some property, I surely would remember.
Want to walk back to that time or stay here?
Good.
But if he had, you would have reported the change of ownership.
That's right. I see bill of sale. Make out a new deed. File it right back there in the safe. Anything else I can help you with?
You're a smart man.
Enough?
Yeah, that'll do.
2 cents.
There you go. That's one. Yeah, Kevin, that's good.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like it.
I wanted one more bit to do
Yeah, no, that's good because it's almost like you gotta let this all over.
Yeah.
You put the pieces together. Is Eli or Eli?
Whose line?
Whose line? You got it.
Yeah. Good.
Goodness.
Yep.
Never
Two sides to every story.
Okay, first team.
You were brilliant.
Step out, second team.
You should have shot it. Did you get it? If you got it, then we got recovered.
We're done.
We don't have to shoot this at all. It's lunch. Let's go.
Where was it when we walked in there?